What's up, motherfuckers? Welcome back to another episode of the Low Life Motherfucking Chopper Podcast.
What's up, you scalawags?
We're back for the second time this week.
Yes, recording on a Thursday in the 11th hour here. Trying to get this shit out by Friday.
Sheesh.
Hopefully everybody liked our Halloween episode.
Yeah, 1 hour fucking Halloween episode. If you haven't checked that out, go check it out. Because this week, the fucking Patreon is free. You get to see what the fuck we're doing over there. You get that free episode. So take advantage of it, because next week it will not be there, you cunts.
Yeah, that was fun. It's not Halloween anymore, but it's still fun for we go over top 5 horror movies, and you can see me suffer in clown makeup for an hour. But...
yeah. Itchy face as soon as you get the makeup on.
Dude, I feel like I'm suffocating. Like, as soon as I put it on, it feels like I'm wearing a mask, and I can't breathe. And I start to panic and stuff. I'm like, oh, I'm having fun. This is so much fun.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That was a good episode, though. It was cool to have a couple people in the live chat. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, that was cool.
If for all you Patreon subscribers, get on that motherfucking app. Get the Patreon app. Because then you get to see all the shit we're doing. We're posting on there nonstop. We're putting out t-shirt ideas. We're putting out shit that is coming up before we talk about it here. Like all the details on the motherfucking chop luck. You guys, exactly. You have no idea what I'm talking about. But the Patreon guys do. You know what I mean? It has its perks. You get the free episode every week. You get merch before it comes out. So when we make exclusive show merch, Patreon guys get to see it first. They get first dibs on it. They get to help us pick designs for the merch. Yeah. They weigh in on what episodes we do, who we have on the show. They get to come and do live episodes with us. They can chat the whole time we're recording. We can see everything we're saying, they're saying. They can call in and jump on the episode. There's a lot of motherfucking perks.
Yeah, and in fact, I'm actually working on there's some new functionality where we can link to our Spotify and do early episodes. So, like, if you're a patron, you'll get access to the episode as soon as it uploads.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah. So you can still listen to it on Spotify and all that stuff, or wherever you get your, wherever you get your music.
Yeah. So if you're already a Patreon, get the motherfucking app. Take advantage of that shit. And if you're not a Patreon yet and you want to be, go to the link in our fucking bio on Instagram, Low Life Shop Podcast. And that's a link for everything. Merch, Patreon, episodes. You can listen to the fucking episode right from Instagram. Goddamn, we can't make it any easier for you motherfuckers.
Oh, yeah. And $5 a month. $5 hairs a month. I ain't lying.
Yeah, that ain't shit. That ain't shit.
But it adds up. It adds up for us. And we're able to do cooler shit, like the Chop Luck is a public event at a venue this year because of our patrons. So, we'd like to do even bigger parties and even more shows and more cool shit. But
it's like 25 cents a day.
Yeah.
You probably throw 25 cents on the floor of your truck a day.
I literally, when I go to a convenience store and I have cash and they give me any change, even if it's like 98 cents, it all goes right in that little penny bin.
Oh yeah. I filled up my center console almost of my truck with change.
I'll throw it on the ground.
My wife goes and gets it all, and she used it for Christmas.
That's smart. My wife hates it, but I'll do that. I'll be walking out of a store, I'll just throw money on the ground. I hate change. I won't deal with it.
Dude, at the end of the year, I hate change too. I fucking hate having it in my pocket. My wife started taking all my change. I would come in at the end of the day, empty my pockets. She put like this container where I put my keys and shit. I'll throw all my change in there. Dude, at the end of the year, Christmas time comes, dude, and there'll be like fucking $900, $1,200 in fucking change, bro. Yeah. What? Yeah. It's crazy, nuts, bro. You know how nice that is?
That is really nice. Maybe I'll start keeping my change. I just fucking hate the way it feels. I actually don't even typically even have cash on me. Like I don't like even having dollar bills.
Cunt.
Who, me?
No, I'm fucking talking to myself like an idiot.
Called me the C word. I was like, sorry, I'll keep my change. Buy Christmas presents with it. I can't believe you can get that much money from change over the course of a year.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But if you deal with money all the time, it's always just like, I mean, you're making like at least a transaction a day. You know, you're buying tobacco or booze or food or something.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of fucking ridiculous, to be honest. I'm glad she does it, though, because it's a huge fucking break on Christmas presents.
Christmas is expensive.
Yeah.
When you have kids.
Yep, sure is.
Yeah. That's why we're converting to Judaism this year.
I wouldn't do that right now.
Bad timing.
Yeah.
All right, we don't have any more housekeeping. We can hop into this. We have a lot of myths that need busting. We're going to call this episode Chopbusters because we don't want to get sued by those guys over on the Discovery Channel. But we're going to dispel some myths about building choppers through our personal experience. And I think we have
Which is
10 topics.
10 whole topics.
Yeah, so I don't know which one you want to start on.
Let's just start at the bottom of welding.
Okay.
That's one of the first things, right?
Yes, the myth.
Or we can start with the myth of all choppers are not created equal.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So first myth. All bikes are not good candidates for choppers. At least in the beginning.
Yeah.
If you pick a bike like a Suzuki GS 500, you're gonna have a bad time because the aftermarket market is not there, and there's not a lot of people chopping them up, which means there's not a lot of information on the fucking interwebs. There's probably not a lot of people working on them, period. So there's also not that information on the internet. Your best bet, especially for your first build, your best bet is to go with something that is more common, something like a Sportster or a shovel, even the fucking the Big 20 Evos. That's still a very rare thing to chop. You can find a lot of info on the actual motor and like how to work on that stuff. But as far as like putting it in a rigid frame and all that shit, that's still pretty new. A lot of guys are not doing that yet. So you may run into some trouble with that. But I mean, other than that,
you gotta, in my opinion, like if you're looking at it from a first time chopper experience, right? You're probably like, I don't want to spend a lot of money on this. I don't know how this is gonna go. So you try to get a cheap bike.
Exactly.
Sportster is probably the best starting bike, like an Evo Sportster. It's going to be more expensive to get that platform. So the only other ones I could even recommend for aftermarket and information is probably CB and XS. So like a Honda CB.
CB is still tough. The only thing that sucks about doing a CB is if you have to do any kind of motor work, there's a lot more that goes into it.
Yeah.
Now you're looking at 4 carburetors.
Yeah, that was my first bike too, and you can get them cheap. Like you can get them running at $500 still,
right?
You know, so that's a plus.
There is a lot of shit for CB 750s. That used to be a huge bike to chop back in the day.
Yeah. So aftermarket and information wise, CB XS, and then any Harley, pretty much. Like or Ironhead, Sportster, a lot more big twin stuff. But yeah, I would not recommend it. My recommendation would be to start with a Sportster.
Yeah. Sportsters are good because one, you can get them relatively cheap because people buy them initially as a beginner's bike.
Especially 883s.
Right. And
You
they
can get
buy
them
them as a
super
beginner bike
cheap.
to learn how to ride on. Um, and usually they've crashed them a couple times, so the tins are fucked up or something like that. That's fine. None of that matters to you if you're chopping it.
Yeah.
So you can usually get them pretty cheap, sub $2,000 usually. That's probably the best way to go. That's going to be your cheapest route besides an XS.
Yeah.
XSs you can get stupid fucking cheap, like already in a fucking chopped frame for $1,000.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
again, those are a
definitely.
little bit harder to work on.
Yep. Yeah. So it all depends on your fabrication skills and all that stuff. But like, if you were like me and you didn't have really any kind of like mechanical background, and I went that route. I went CB 750. It had to run. I got it for $500, and I fucked with that as far as I could take it. And then I got an XS. Fucked with that as long as I could take it. And then I graduated into Harleys. But I would recommend, if you got you're looking at a CB for 500. It's like, don't buy that. Save up another $100. Get yourself an Ironhead. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I think for simplicity of working on the bike and then also with the aftermarket backing, an Evo Sportster is the easiest way to go for your first build.
Yep.
But if you're like, look, I'm trying to do this once and one time only, first of all, not going to happen. That never happens. Unless you get one and you're like, I hate this. After you build one, you just want to build all of them. So if you're a guy and you're like, look, I want to just like get the one I want now, and you're like, I want a shovel. Get a shovel.
Mm-hmm.
They're not that hard to work on. Shovel is probably one of the easier bikes I've ever worked on, to be honest.
I gotta
It's
say, yeah,
pretty.
it's probably a caveat too. I mean, it's probably not a myth on its own, but as part of this same myth here is, like, any bike's good to chop, but also you can find deals, affordable shovel heads. Like, they're not
Yes.
all $5,000. They're not all
No.
$7,000. I got
No.
mine for $2,000.
I got mine for 3,000,
Yeah,
and mine was a running riding shovel head.
yeah. And I bought my first Harley was a 1980 Ironhead that I bought for 2,000. So,
Yep.
I mean,
And you can piece them together too. There's so many parts. You could buy just the motor if you wanted to, and then you could save up some money, buy the trans.
yeah,
You know what I mean? But my recommendation is don't do that, because in the long run, you're going to pay more money. You're looking at probably $2,000, $2,500 for a shovel head, a cone shovel. And then depending on which transmission you go with a cow pie, you're looking at probably 600. Ratchet top, you're looking at close to 1,000. So right there, you're at $3,500. If you just go spend $3,500 on a full shovel head, now you get the motor, you get the trans, you get the wheels, you get the
get the
front end,
frame. Yeah.
you get the frame. And to be honest, every time I've done 2 shovels now, both of my shovels, I've made $2,000 on takeoff parts. $2,000. Especially if it's a wide glide. You can sell that wide glide front end for $600 all day. You just sell it with everything: controls, front caliper, everything. See you later, bye. I don't fucking care about this thing. Then you can sell the split tanks. People love that shit. You can sell the rear fender, the seats, the fucking pegs. You can literally sell everything. The whole primary, if you're gonna go, if you're gonna do a belt drive, you sell the whole entire primary. So you do that. Now
Offsets the cost.
you pay for your hardtail for free. It comes with all the money you already spent. You can get a tank. You can get a fender. You know what I mean? So you're already getting everything you need just by buying a stock bike.
Yeah, that's a good point. And then the other thing is too, it's like, well, if this is like your first time go around, if you buy a bike that you don't love, you won't finish it.
Yeah.
And I've owned like 50 bikes, because I buy them,
Yeah.
I start them, and I'm like, I'm just not into it. You know what I mean? Like, once you find, if you want a shovel head, save up the money, hustle and get what you need to get that bike, because when you finally do get it, you'll actually build it and like finish the project. You know what I mean? I've
Yeah.
had 1,000 different, like iron heads and excesses and stuff that just sat around different stages of, like completion, and you end up selling them.
Yeah.
So just get what you
My
want.
my advice is get the Sportster. Work out all the bugs, go through the growing pains of building a bike, because once you get that shovel or you get that panhead, you're going to want experience on your belt because you're going to want the bike to come out good. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Unless you just milk your bike build for fucking 3 years on your first one, it's going to suck. It's not going to be great.
Yeah.
You're going to think it's great. And then once you buy your next bike and build that bike, you're going to be like, wow, that bike sucks.
I've had my Sportster for 5 years or something, and I change it up every year still. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like, you're never really satisfied. They're never really done being built. You're always
Yep.
improving.
Yep.
I've had 3 different paint jobs on that thing. I've
And it's nice
rewired
to
it.
have one bike that's just reliable every time.
Yeah.
There's something to
Yeah,
be said for that.
definitely. All right. Let's move on to welding, because we already mentioned it.
Yeah. There's
And
two kind of guys in this world.
yeah. Yeah. Well, now I'm the welding. I'm the fly fisherman of welding on this show. I've replaced
Yeah.
grease. I'm like the wish.com grease on welding now.
Yeah.
But
So I will say this, though. When it comes to welding, skip right the fuck over flux core. Don't even bother. Don't
don't
waste
even
your
fuck with it.
money.
Yeah.
It's a waste of money. Your welds are going to look like shit. You're going to be pissed because the welder sucks. Just pony up the money. Like the welder that I have, right? You can barely see it. The one right there is a Hobart. And how do you say that? Is a Hobart? Yeah, I think
Hobart?
Hobart. Anyways, yeah, it's
Are you putting an
from
L in that? Hobart?
Hobart. Is it? What is it?
I think it's Hobart.
It is Hobart. It's Hobart. I don't know
Okay.
why I
You
thought there
had
was
me.
an L. Yeah, it's
The
Hobart.
L is silent and invisible.
Yeah. I got that one right at fucking Tractor Supply. They happened to be running a fucking sale that week for some reason. I got it for $350. Brand new. No one's ever used it. I already had a gas bottle because I had a welder before that. But even to get a gas bottle, you're looking at like $120 to buy one, or you can rent one for like $20 or some shit. It's worth just going straight to gas. Flux core is garbage. I mean, can you make it work? Yep, you sure can. But it's gonna look like shit. You're gonna be grinding non-fucking stop. Just get the gas MIG welder. Then you know you're getting penetration.
Yeah.
You know you're doing strong welds, and then you can really gauge progress you're making as a welder. Because on a flux core, they just all look like shit.
No.
You know what I mean? Get some gas, and you could actually practice and get good at welding.
And like when I first got into welding, I ended up going TIG, only because I was like, this is something I want to get good at over a long time, and that takes a lot of skill to do. So like, if you're just trying to zip on some welds or whatever, like definitely MIG's the way to go. But if you want to get into stainless and do other things, like it's not hard to learn. I'm a shitty welder. You know what I mean? Like I don't. I'm
No,
not
you
gonna
weld
be.
pretty good.
But comparatively to like an actually good welder,
Yeah.
like when you see Grease's welds, you're like, this guy welds for a living.
Yeah,
Like that's a
this
nice
is what this
beat.
guy does.
Yeah, and he takes a long time to like set up and clean. Like I've welded with him and stuff. Uh, it doesn't matter though. you can still be a shitty welder and still have stuff work. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm a shitty TIG welder, but I'm good enough to make things stick. I've never had a weld break on me. I've done structural stuff like on the bike, and you can definitely make parts with it. But people are intimidated by it, but I picked it up. You run a few beads, you learn how to do it, and you just kind of go to YouTube University and fucking, there's a billion videos on it, and you just practice, practice, practice. And the
Yeah.
more you do it, the better you get. And it's
Yeah.
not expensive to get into. I bought a brand new one, but they're out there. Those same with the bikes, right? So if you want to pick up welding, get on Facebook Marketplace, save it your search for TIG welder, and look at it every day. Look at it 3-4 times a day. And you could be one of those dudes that has a fucking sick ass come up. I've seen dudes pick up fucking TIG welders with a bottle full of argon for $150.
Damn.
It's out there. Those deals are out there, but you got to pounce, because there
Yeah.
are dudes like me, like when I want something, compulsively check Marketplace every day, all day long, just refresh. And when I have the money and I have the want for it, I'm there. I'm like, posted 10 minutes ago, I'm like, I'll pick it up tonight. So be ready to pounce if you want to save a buck.
Yeah.
If you want the warranty and all that shit, I would say, yeah, just buy it. Dude, Everlast, I got my TIG welder for $500 delivered to my door. Yeah.
Dude, when you told me Everlast, I started looking them up and they were like $1,300.
I have a very basic one.
I can't swing that.
No, I got like I got a really basic one, but it has the basic stuff that you would want. They have even cheaper ones than that, but I wanted to have the high frequency start and all that shit.
Yours came with a pedal and shit?
Mine did not, but I bought a pedal. It was $100, but it took me 2 years
still
to
not
get
bad.
It took me 2 years to buy that pedal, and it's probably the best $100 I ever spent, because it comes with just like the little
I didn't
trigger.
know that's what like the price was at, because I was looking and it was like $1,300. I'm like, I can never afford that, because I'm actually thinking about switching to TIG. I'm still gonna keep my MIG, but I'm thinking about switching to TIG just because the shop here is all wood and wood floors, and I know MIG's not gonna set the place on fire, but it's like, if I don't have to be shooting fucking hot chunks of steel everywhere, you know what I mean? And I've always wanted to at least learn TIG, because it does look really fucking nice.
Yeah.
And like you said, then you can do stainless and fucking aluminum and all that shit. So it's not anything that I'm like actively trying to get right now, but like in the near future, before this really goes into full swing, I'm going to get a TIG.
Yeah. Yeah.
Preferably
awesome
the same one as yours, because we have the same pellet stove. So I want to have the same welder as well. You know what I mean?
It's like
that way when I'm like, dude, what the fuck? You can be like, yeah, you just got to do this, you retard.
It's like that movie Single White Female. Like, you show up, you're like wearing the same shirt as me and shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I bought the same TIG welder as you too. Yeah. No, it's good though to I would definitely recommend TIG, only because it takes more skill, but for me, that's kind of what I'm in it for, is like to be skilled up. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, yeah.
Is yours 220?
Yeah. It can do either.
Fuck.
It can do either.
Okay. I don't have 220 out here yet.
I don't typically have it on the 220. Like when I'm working at parts, because I have like a welding table now, and I usually just where that, it's by the 220 now, but where it was before, I just, most parts you're fine without doing that. I only use the 220 if I do like when we did your hardtail or something. I was like, we better get some extra oomph into this thing. But yeah, it's awesome that you're thinking about getting a TIG.
Yeah,
I would love to have a MIG too. You know what I mean? Like, have them both.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep the MIG. Just for the fact of like, if I just gotta fucking zap something on real quick, I just want to be able to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I just made a road sign for my house, like out of scrap metal and shit.
Oh shit!
And TIG welding scrap metal fucking sucks. Like, most of the time was cleaning it. You know what I mean? Like cleaning and grinding and all that shit. But it came out good. And it is like, it's pretty zen shit. Like a TIG welder, it's just like you got your foot on the pedal and you're just like, it's very quiet. There's no sparks, and
Right.
you can see really well what you're doing. So you can get those like little tiny things.
Did yours come with like a good torch and all that shit, or did you upgrade all that shit too?
No, I still got the same torch on it. Yeah.
Same like cup and all that shit.
Yeah, it came with a torch and some tungsten and no pedal. It had like a little trigger, but pedal's an extra $100 or something like that. And it's a decent pedal. It's not a piece of shit. And then dude, cups and stuff, I buy that shit on Amazon. It'll be shipped next day. They'll give you like 50 cups and it's like $10 like from China.
No shit.
That's all I use because I don't do it professionally. So I have like the glass, the lens, glass lens, gas lens stuff. Just all Chinese like bullshit, but it's fine. And you don't fucking shed a tear when you drop the fucking torch on the ground and the cups shatters.
Right.
You're just like, oh, I'll just buy another 12 of these for $8. It'll be here tomorrow. That works fine. But so not expensive. Not hard to get into. It's probably, I would say, if you're into building bikes, you should have a welder 100%, or else you're going to be buying bolt-on parts.
You're gonna be so poor paying somebody to weld for you.
Exactly.
Because paying somebody to weld for you is not fucking cheap.
Yeah, because you can knock out a project like so quickly. You know what I mean? Like by yourself. But if you're waiting on someone else to do it, you got to go to the guy, you got to quote you got to give him money. It's in his shop for fucking 2 weeks. Like, not a position you want to be in. And you want to build custom stuff, and it just that really unlocked the door for me. Is like, once I got into welding, it's like you can make cool shit.
Yeah.
And if you have a grinder, dude, it doesn't even matter if you're like I said, I'm a shitty welder, but with a grinder, and a buffing wheel, you can make shit look real good.
Yeah.
So, all right, which one do you want to skip on to next?
I honestly forgot what they were.
Let's just do specialty tools.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Bust this myth. So specialty tools, you don't need them, and if you do need them, they ain't expensive.
Yeah.
If you buy them from Harley, they're expensive.
So much money.
If you want one from, what is that guy, Fast Eddie or whatever, right? He builds shit like lifetime guaranteed, real good shit.
Yeah.
That's expensive. But I've had the same chunk of PVC to do my fork tube fucking installs forever. Works perfectly fine. Cost me fucking $1.19.
Look, mine's actually right here.
Oh, there we go. Yep.
PVC for the win, dude.
Here's the other thing, ties into the welding.
And
I've
also
built a lot of tools.
Yes, so many. There are some that like shift like the shovel head to get the heads off and all that shit. You can order that shit right on lowbrowcustoms.com. They have so many specialty tools. It's fucking sickening. And they are super fucking cheap. They're so fucking cheap. Everything you need, dude. Clutch pullers, fucking literally everything.
Actually,
90-degree wrenches
those,
to get into the heads.
those little crow feet things you put me on.
Yeah.
To get those like base, those bolts to get the cylinders off.
Yep.
They got all those like little knickknacks and paddywhacks.
Yeah. I actually made one of those. Me and Fat Man, we were both building our shovels, and we both made a set of those because we couldn't wait to order them. We're like, nah, we're just going to get the wrenches, cut them, put some fucking socket ends on them.
Yeah. Yeah. What?
But you can order them.
There's what is that for the, I think I made it when I was doing the XS, but like for the neck stem, they have those like to get those off to compress it. You need like a special spanner wrench tool thing.
Those things are such a cunt.
Yeah, and they're kind of expensive, but you can just cut one up and make one really easy. And I use it for all sorts of shit. I
used a flathead screwdriver and a hammer.
Yeah. That does some damage, but that works too. Yeah. I'll tell you what though. So like I forget who I was talking to about the about like the bearing pullers and stuff like that. Because yeah, you can get bearings out of a wheel with a drift
Mm,
or a screwdriver and a fucking hammer, but it takes forever, and you do some damage sometimes. But
yeah,
you can get cheap tools on Amazon. Like I have a bearing puller I got, cost like I think it was like 30-40 bucks,
yeah.
and dude, it takes like 10 seconds to get a bearing out, comes
And
out
you can get a
perfectly
lot of
straight.
that shit right at Harbor Freight.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Like Harbor Freight carries a lot of that weird shit.
dude, they get more and more tools every time I go there. Harbor
Yeah,
Freight is definitely like most of my tools come from Harbor Freight.
yeah.
Definitely hand tools. And in fact, my favorite tool of all time, I use it every single day, is their wrenches with a flex head ratcheting
Mm,
end.
mm-hmm.
And it's like the perfect hand tool. And they've
Yep.
never failed me. And I've fucked those things up. I've had those for years. And they're
Yeah.
like
Like
20 bucks.
also 90% of my tools are all Craftsman. And then all my electric tools are all DeWalt. Now everybody else you'll see they will tell you need to buy Snap-on or you need to buy Milwaukee and whatever. I've been using Craftsman tools. Listen, I've only been building motorcycles for almost 7 years, but I've been wrenching on cars. There's literally pictures of me when I was 2 years old sitting in an engine bay with my dad. I've been working on cars my entire life. My dad has always used Craftsman. I've always used Craftsman. I've built cars with 600 wheel horsepower with Craftsman wrenches.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Um, will I say this? Snap-on, their wrenches fit a little bit snugger. Yeah, 100% they do. I will never argue that. They 100% fit snugger. Um, less of a chance rounding a bolt off with a Snap-on. Yeah, that's fine. But when it comes to spending the $250 on 8 fucking boxed end wrenches, nah, not
Yeah.
doing it. Not when I can go buy a fucking 20-piece set of Craftsman for fucking 80. You know what I mean? I'm just not going to do it. And
Yeah.
now, like, dude, tools are so fucking well made now that it's like, I mean, buy the
Yeah.
Snap-on if you want. Get the sticker to put on the back window of your truck. Get a Snap-on hoodie and fucking do all that shit. But if you're not doing this for a living, you're wasting your
Not worth
fucking
it.
money on Snap-on. Like Steve from Fat Man Customs, he's got like 6 toolboxes full of Snap-on shit. It makes sense because he pays his bills with those Snap-on tools.
Yeah.
If you're wrenching in your garage and dropping fucking, and you have a Snap-on payment, you're an idiot. You're a fucking idiot.
Yeah. Especially when like you can build a lot of specialty tools for motorcycles. Like what was it? When I was doing the shovel head, remember I texted you guys and I was like, I can't get it was the magnetic cover over the stator.
Yeah.
Could not get it off. Like with my fingers. It was just like it was too powerful. And I was able to make a tool to do it with a welder and some scrap metal. So like you can get around there and it worked perfectly. It didn't damage anything. Like it didn't have to be
Yeah.
precision. Like essentially
Yep.
these bikes are like old tractors. Like that's how the dudes that started this shit, they didn't have a bunch of specialty Harley tools. They fucking
Yeah.
made tools. So make as
Yep.
much as you can, especially if it's like, oh, I'm only going to do this once. Like you don't need a specialty, like clutch puller tool. There's all sorts of shit on the internet. Like I made one
Yeah.
for to compact my clutch springs to do the clutch on the shovel head. And it's like you can buy the specialty tool or you can use 2 washers and like a
Yeah.
bolt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like that stuff that's laying around your house. And the other thing is you get shit done way quicker if you're
Yeah.
crafty about it. So like make as many tools as you can, especially these stupid expensive tools. I mean, they're almost always just like a bolt pull that threads in somewhere that pulls something out. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you can do it. You can make that on your own.
Yep. Yeah. I would definitely take that advice to anybody that's just getting into this is don't think you have to go spend crazy amounts of money. Buy tools as you need them. Don't be like, oh, I got to go drop fucking $1,000 on a bunch of tools so I can start this build. No, just go get. Matter of fact, they have. Fucking, I wish I I have one behind me, but it's like a box. Hold on, let me see if I can get a view of this because these things are great. Where is it? Right here. See, that box right there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a Craftsman box. It comes with 4 drawers of every size. You know what I mean? And those have gone up in price a little bit, but I still think they're like $200, and you'll get a full set in every fucking size. You know what I mean? Like, you could start a whole build with that and get most of the way through the fucking build. It comes with Allen wrenches. It comes with fucking Torx bits. It comes with fucking everything. Open end fucking box wrenches. For like $200. You don't need to just go balls to the walls and buy all kinds of fucking crazy shit. The longer you do it, the more shit you'll accumulate. And then eventually you'll just keep accumulating shit because you just do.
Yeah, because you always need a new tool for a new job or whatever. But, also check with your buds, like, because we loan tools to each other. You know what I mean?
Oh, all
Like,
the fucking time.
yeah, I think I still actually, Danny, I still got your socket from when we did my sprocket. So, keep tabs on that shit. But, if you go and get like a sprocket fucking, a brand new socket for that, it's like, those things are like $30, dude.
Yeah.
They're like an inch and a quarter or an inch and 5/8 or some shit. That's a big fucking socket, and that's a lot of money. That's $250.
Yeah. Yeah. So more of the story is you don't need to go broke or think that you don't have enough money to get tooled up to do a build. It's not that much money. You, for fuck's sake, you can go to swap meets and buy tons of tools. People have just bins of tools for fucking $1 each. You know what I mean?
Dude, and they don't want them at all. Like, when I was at the Keen swap last time, this dude had a bucket of fucking sockets, and he goes, "Just take that." And I was like, no, because it was just like a bunch of random sockets. But like, you can get free tools.
Yep.
And the old tools too, by the way, like, it's really hard to find like a cheap, like, for bleeding your brakes, to find a closed end 6-point wrench. Like, almost all of them are like 12 points. But I found one. It's an old one from a swap meet. I got it for like $1. Actually, no, it wasn't $1. This old bitch was like beating me up with the price. She was like $5 or nothing. Like, I was like, what the fuck, dude? It's like this big.
Yeah.
But I was like, you fucking son of a bitch. But I ended up getting that, and it doesn't strip the fucking nipple. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But swap meets are great for tools and shit. And actually, it doesn't even have to be a motorcycle swap meet. Go to a fucking like any kind of
car one.
Yeah, car one, or even just like I think I went to one. It was just like random shit, but I got like a bandsaw for $5.
Yeah,
you can get cool tools for like barely no money.
Yeah, and Marketplace. Marketplace is another great place to get
Marketplace.
tools.
Oh yeah. All right. Want to do wheel spacers next?
Sure. All right, so this piece right here, this is a cut one. This has already been cut. But when you buy this, it's probably, I don't know, that much longer. And this is literally a wheel spacer. This is what this. You can buy these at, I think, Lowbrow. I wish it would fucking focus. Focus, you little bitch. You can buy these at Lowbrow. You can buy them at what the fuck is that other big company? Drag. You can buy them at all those places. And it's literally just a big fucking chunk. Like I'm saying, probably, I don't know, 6 to 8 inches maybe. And you just measure out what you need, cut this a little bit bigger, and then fucking put it right on your fucking belt sander. Done. Wheel spacer's done. See you later. Bye. It's so easy.
Yeah. Is that I've been using, I got some stainless steel stock, 120, like 1 inch. The inside diameter is 3/4.
Yep.
The bandsaw really helps making those cuts like really straight.
Yes.
Because before I was using just like a cutoff wheel.
Yep.
And you get like that that fucking like slant. And it's really hard on the belt sander to like get it to be like flat.
So here's the other thing too is like, so I cut mine, I don't know, probably, and you can see by this cut, this is with a fucking, look at that. See how offset that is?
A little rough.
That's not straight. That was cut with a fucking, what's it called? A grinder. With a cutoff wheel. It does not fucking matter, dude. I cut it like that. I zap it so it looks nice and flat on my belt sander, and then it goes on the fucking axle. That's it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If
in
it's
fact,
not
it doesn't even
dead
need to be
nuts,
that flat. It doesn't even need
that's
to
what
be
I'm saying.
like,
if it's not dead nuts, like you're not gonna crash and die because you have you know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter. You're just filling the void.
yeah, because it does have a hard surface and your wheel's compressed. So like I went through the same thing where I was trying to get it as flat as fucking possible, you know, but with rudimentary tools, you really can't do that. And it can be visibly like offset, like with a slant. But one of those surfaces is touching where it needs to touch. And if you use like a hardened metal, it's not really wearing away. So all my wheel spacers are just like cut by hand with a cutoff wheel, finished off with a belt sander.
Yeah.
And
people act like when they're
yet.
doing spacers that they're making a fucking axle. This isn't what's turning your wheel. It doesn't matter if this is fucking dead nuts, zero fucking tolerance. This has nothing to do. This isn't turning your wheel. It's not going to make your wheel wobbly. It's not going to do any of that shit. It's just not. You know what I mean? Like, stop fucking overthinking it. Wheel spacers is the easiest fucking thing to do. It should take you 20 minutes.
Get it in the neighborhood. And I went through that same process where I was trying to get it perfect, and I made like a bunch of wheel spacers, and I took a little too much off, and then it's like, well, now you got to cut a new wheel spacer. But eventually, I was just like, fuck it, it's close enough, and I put it on. And hundreds of miles, years and years of riding, and
I've been riding my Sportster, and I didn't even know about this when I did the Sportster. I have some of them are just regular washers that I found in my toolbox that I bored out. One of them is a fucking brass washer, and I've been running them for fucking 5 years. Ripping on them, you know what I mean? Hole shotting at lights. It does not matter. This is an upgrade to that.
Yeah, the other thing is too, it's like a lot of those wheel spacer kits, they come in, they're aluminum. It's really soft metal. And those will, they will move and wear away because they're, you know, but just use stainless steel if you want to be fancy, but you can use mild steel too. Washers,
this one
washers work.
Is like fucking chrome or some shit, or maybe it's just polished stainless.
Oh, and here's another little hot tip: you get it in the neighborhood. Sure, you can use washers, but another thing I've used is machine bushings, and they come in like really thin slices, right? So you can like kind of build those up, or if you just need to take up like a little tiny gap, like machine bushings are great. But none of this matters. That's the whole beauty of choppers, is that it's kind of hacked together, you know?
Yeah.
And you're not going to
get season 365.
You're not going to get, it doesn't have to be perfect. These machines aren't perfect, you know? Like, and it's okay to make little mistakes like that. It doesn't, that was the biggest thing for me, like when I got into choppers, because like not coming from like a mechanical background or cars or whatever, you read the forums and they're like, oh, if that's an eighth of an inch off, you're gonna fucking die, and they try to get you all scared, you know, and people are like, you start doubting yourself. But with this stuff, is just like, just have to sack up and be like, you know what, I'm just gonna run with it, you know, see how it does. And I've had shit fall off my bike, and I've had fucking shit fail on me, but like nothing catastrophic, you know. Like typically you'll be going down the road and you'll hear something, you know. That's the only thing, is you really have to be in tune with your bike, you know. Like, don't, the first time out on a shakedown run, don't throw on your headphones blaring fucking AC/DC and then just like send it, you know what I mean? Like, listen to what's going on, and if you hear things that don't sound right, there's something wrong, and then try to figure out what it is. Because then it can be, if it's ignored, it can be catastrophic. But that brings us into the next topic, which is choppers are dangerous. That is a myth. They're sketchy.
They are
They're
sketchy.
sketchy. They're
Yeah.
not dangerous. No more dangerous than another like any kind of motorcycle. And I would argue that, like if you're one of those dudes that tucks your t-shirt into your fucking dungarees and
Dungarees.
just rides for 300 miles a year, you know what I mean, to Laconia and back while drinking Bud Lights, that's pretty dangerous. But if you're like us and you try to chomp as many miles as possible and you're in tune with your bike and you know how it sounds and you know what doesn't sound right, then you're, like you're cautious about stuff, like you're doing shakedown. Those dudes don't do shakedown
and
runs after they pick up their fucking
always
Harley after an
and you're
oil change.
always listening. You're always
Yeah.
concentrating on what your bike's doing. You know what I mean? So if anything, choppers make you more cautious.
Yeah. And they make you more in tune with like the machine that you're riding on because it's your work. You have no one to blame but yourself. So you're constantly like, like if you just did a chain adjustment or something, right? You're listening to how the chain sounds, like because you did the work. You want to make sure it's right because your life's in your own hands. So, yeah, they're dangerous in the fact that they don't have blinkers. I don't think that saves a whole lot of lives.
No.
They're dangerous because they don't have
People don't
like
use their
brakes
fucking
and stuff.
blinkers in their fucking car.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a dangerous world. Don't be scared. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the satisfaction you get from building something and riding down the road and being like, I can't believe this thing is fucking moving. You know what I mean?
It's like having
Like,
a child.
I did it. It is. It makes you really proud. But also, like everything that goes wrong and all the stupid stuff you do, it's really humbling, But like here's an example of me being an idiot and almost dying. I got a Springer front end. I just bolted it on and I started riding around. A couple of years ago, I rode out to Epping, right? Which is a haul for me. All back roads. It was like an hour and a half. And I rode it all the way back at night. And I pulled in my garage and, all day long, I was like, yeah, it's handling a little weird, like it's not cornering that way. It has like a bit of a sway to it. I pull in my garage at the end of the day and I look at the Springer and every single castle nut holding the wheel on, holding the rockers on the Springer are backed out and one's completely missing.
Yikes.
And I still rode that bitch home. I don't know if I rode 40 miles. I don't know if I rode 15 miles. I don't know if I rode 1 mile like that, but one castle nut was not even on there. So the bolt was just in there. And then every single other one, there's 4 of them, and they were all backed out all the way to the end of the bolt. I still rode it home on twisty back roads because I, in a rush, threw the Springer on and I didn't put the cotter pins in. No Loctite, no cotter pins.
Yikes.
That shit fucking amazed me. Yeah, because if I would have lost my front wheel, I could have been,
I've been
paced on
smoked.
the road. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially at night coming back. And I was drinking that day. So it was a miracle or, like you have to fuck up pretty bad probably to make these things kill you. You're not going to have shit like falling off it. I've had chains fall off. I've had my front caliper fall off. I've had my handlebars come out of the risers.
Yikes.
Yeah. But it's amazing how resilient you actually are, and how quickly you react in these situations. But the moral of the story isn't just be reckless. It's like, learn from your own mistakes. Now, I make damn sure of certain things. You know what I mean? Like you learn from your mistakes. You're like, that could have killed me. That was pretty bad. But, now I got a new Springer and I made sure I went through the whole fucking thing. So that won't happen again, ever. Same thing with like riser bolts, like my risers popped out. It's amazing what it can do too. Cause they were riserless 6-spins and, the bolts, I don't know. I was going down a bumpy road, but dude, those fucking things went pop right into my lap, like just straight up. And it's amazing. I don't even know how it happens. Like, how did it get that loose so quickly?
Yeah.
So now every single fucking bolt I ever put in has Loctite on it, even if I know I'm going to take it back out, just so I never forget another bolt, you know?
Fucking A. Yeah, that's
I'm
sketchy.
scaring you.
That one's sketchy.
You're like,
That's why I
I
don't
don't
fuck
think I
with
agree
springers,
with
bro.
this. Yeah,
That's why I
that
don't
was the
fuck with
sketchiest
springers.
thing that I've ever seen, dude. Like, to have one completely gone, a bolt, one of them's gone, and then have all the other three just like backed out all the way to the max, just like hanging on by a thread.
Yeah.
It was like a fucking miracle. I can't believe it. But just goes to show you, you know, like you can get away with an awful lot. We're talking about like wheel spacers don't have to be perfect. You know, just like make sure your bolts are Loctited down. Make sure you use like, we were talking about this too. It's just like torque specs. Are you a torque guy?
Only on motor shit.
Motor shit. Yeah. I'm the same. I don't think you really need to torque everything
Yeah, I'm not
perfectly.
torquing my rear wheel or any of that
No,
shit.
no. Just nice, good and tight.
Yeah.
Couple of Ogadugas. As long as it has
Yeah.
Loctite on it, it shouldn't be moving.
Yeah. And don't get it twisted. We're not saying hack your whole build together. We're saying stop getting so stressed out wondering if it's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. You should be as safe as possible and do whatever you can. It's just like, don't make those things keep you from doing it. Because it's
Yeah.
like we were saying before, like when that thing's scooting down the road and you're on it and you're like, I built this fucking thing, there's nothing else like it, you know? And we want everybody to have that experience, you know?
Yeah.
And you're gonna make mistakes and shit's gonna fall off. And like you're gonna have some close calls. That's part of the game. But don't be afraid of it. For me, that was the biggest thing, was especially coming in like not knowing anything about it. You know what I mean? Like I came from a place where I was like, I didn't even know, like I skipped the whole American chopper thing. I didn't even know like what choppers were. I just knew that like these bikes were cool and I kind of wanted to build them. And I was shook, you know, because I'm like, I'm not a mechanic. I don't know how to do fucking this and that. And I'd spend hours on these, you know, forums and like watching videos. And then it's like, when you finally fucking just do it, then it's done. And you learn a lot more from doing it than watching people do it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of what this is all about, is like dispel these myths. This is really geared toward, you know, new guys coming into it, and like we want to inspire you, like, dude,
Just fucking do it.
yeah, you got to do
And
it.
like,
I mean,
and
I'm
not for
already
nothing too, is
hurting.
like, especially in this day and age, like information is so readily available to you. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you don't know how to do it, but guess what? There was a time where you didn't know how to wipe your own ass and you figured it the fuck out. You know what I mean? Now, it's not like how it was in the 60s and 70s where you're like, I guess I'm just going to have to figure this out. Like, you
Yeah,
can use a manual. You can go on forums. There is literally a fucking YouTube video for everything that you need to know.
yeah. You
You
can
know what I
ask
mean? Like,
us.
you have Google. You can ask
Yeah,
fucking podcast people. You can ask, there's thousands of people in the chopper community now. Reach out to anybody. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's like, the information is so widespread now that like there's no reason why anybody should feel like I don't know if I can get through this build.
I rebuilt a ratchet top transmission,
Yeah.
and I read at a fourth grade level, and I've never worked on cars until I was like 28 years old. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Right.
you don't have to be born into it. You don't have to, like, you can learn this stuff, you know? So yeah. All right, let's get into, just in the same vein of just like really intimidating things. Let's get into carb rebuilds, because this is
Yeah.
one where, you know, like it ties into buying a new bike. Like, how many times have you come across a bike and they're like, yeah, it doesn't run, it needs a carb tuning or carb rebuild or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
And when you
So,
first start out, it's really intimidating because carbs are pretty complex, you know, like the way that they work if you don't understand them. But essentially,
inside,
like, like
They're not.
physically, they're actually not. Yeah,
Yeah.
like when you take a carb apart, it's actually not. There's a lot of pieces. There's a million pieces. You know what I mean? Depending on the type of carb. So if you do like and God bless you, if you do a CB 750 and you have a fucking 4 carbs to fuck
Oh yeah.
with,
You're
you're not
fucked.
doing yourself any favors. But that's the beauty with like an XS. You can go single carb. I don't know if you can even do a single carb on a CB. I've never seen
No,
that
you can't.
before.
You can do duels
Yeah,
though.
you can do duals, but you
Yeah.
can go single carb on an XS. You do definitely all the Harleys are single carb. That makes it a lot easier to work on
Yeah.
because you don't have to worry about syncing them. It's only just one carb. And if you go with like an S&S or something like that, like a Super E, like there's
There's
so much shit on the
5 million videos.
Yeah. And Super E has, I mean, SNS has like really good information on their own
And
carbs
listen,
and shit.
rebuilding a carburetor, easy. So fucking easy.
Mm.
The hard part about carburetors is tuning them. That's the
Yeah.
hard part. And once you get the hang of it, it's not that bad. It's really not that bad. You can tell just by looking at the plugs what you need to do. Do you need to fatten it up? Do you need to lean it out? It's really not that fucking hard. People dwell on the weirdest shit, and I get it. It's because it's foreign to you. You don't understand it, so like you just stress out about it. It's not that fucking hard. Like, all right,
Well,
I'll
like
say this.
just go
Sometimes
ahead
you'll
and do it.
chase, yeah, sometimes you'll chase a carburetor around. I've done it 100 fucking times, especially coming from building
I'm
like
still
muscle
doing
cars
it.
and shit when I was younger. You can chase a carb around, and 9 times out of 10, it's your fault. And the reason why it's your fault is because I always tell people when you're fucking with a carburetor or you're fucking with anything where you're trying to diagnose something, do one thing at a time. You have to
Mm.
adjust one thing, try it. Adjust one thing, try it. But people would be like, oh, no, carb's still fucked up. And twisting every fucking screw and swapping out jets. And
Yeah.
you just got to do one thing at a time. And once you do that, it makes it a lot fucking easy to narrow down what's going on.
Yeah. That was me on that Super E, dude. I had to go and I had the
Super
knobs.
E's are a cunt.
I was like a fucking DJ, dude. I was like, hey, wait, hey, wait, hey, wait. Dude,
Yeah.
like as soon as I got running.
And that's the other thing, too, is like what a lot of people don't understand is on a carburetor, if you're like, okay, I need to adjust this. If you do a half turn, you just made the biggest adjustment in the fucking mankind's history. On a carburetor, a half turn is fucking huge, dude. You cannot do it. You got to do like eighth turns, quarter turns. When you just spin that thing a whole turn or a half turn, you just flooded out your fucking carburetor. Or you leaned it out so much, you're going to fucking burn your pistons up.
And there's like a delay too, like what I found like with the Super E and shit, right? Like you'll do a little turn and then you gotta wait, because it's going through cycles,
Yeah.
But like my recommendation is when you get a carb, you should definitely rebuild it. Because you're gonna have to rebuild it at some point anyways. So when if you get like a new bike or whatever, pull it all apart. Every single piece comes out. Every piece
The best
gets
thing
cleaned.
to do, by the way, is do this on like a baking tray. Like
Yes.
that's what you call it, right? A baking tray?
Yeah, just something
Do it
with
on
like
that.
a lip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Do
they
it on
have like
something
little
like that, because
balls
then you
and
don't
shit will roll
lose.
off.
Yeah, there's little springs, especially on a Super. You got like the little springs, you get the little fucking balls in there. That we don't lose any jets or any of the screws.
Yeah.
But actually doing a carburetor is so easy. Rebuilding a carb is so easy. It's
really
fucking
fun.
ridiculous.
Well, the other thing is too is like most carbs, you can put it back together pretty easily because things only go there. Every piece is unique. It's not like you have 7 screws and there's 7 different like everything is a different size.
Right.
The thing you really should do is just drop your carb off at Rhino Resto and I'll vapor hone it for you. Give it a dunk in the ultrasonic cleaner, and that thing will be brand fucking new. I'll even do a rebuild
the best thing
for
too
you.
is once you rebuild the carb, now when you start having carb problems, you have an idea on what the fuck is going on inside your carburetor. If you never open
it's
up
not
a carb,
blocked passage.
you have no
It's not
idea
like
how to
gunked
fucking
up.
do anything.
Yeah, but
like if
it just rules it out. You know what I mean? Like get it completely clean. However you need to do it. And then it's just a matter of like the settings of it, based on what else you have downstream, right? Like, but to have a carb be suspect is like, especially one that has been cleaned, you want to start with a fresh carb. The kits to rebuild these are really cheap too. I mean,
Not super easy.
Super E's are pretty expensive. I think it's like $80 for like the
I think it's
SNS
even
kit.
more. I think it's like 100 and something now.
Yeah, I bet it is. I bet it is. But it's worth it because then it's 100% fresh.
And
You know what I
here's
mean?
the other thing too: is when you're adjusting a carburetor, as long as you make small adjustments and only one adjustment at a time, it's not hard. The hardest part about setting up a carburetor is getting the right jetting. Trying to figure
Yeah,
out
true.
which jets you need,
It's trial
that's
and
the
error.
hardest part. Adjusting everything, it's so easy because if you fuck it up, you just go to SNS on fucking YouTube, or go to fucking Grease's Garage on YouTube, or go to Pacific Mike on YouTube, and they teach you to factory reset the SNS. So now you're back at the
Hmm.
beginning, which automatically makes every bike run. It's going to be fat as shit. And then you just start turning it down again very slowly from there. Tuning a carb is so easy. People blow it out of proportion. It's either your shit's gunked up, it's not getting enough fuel, it's getting too much fuel, or or if it's overflowing in gas, your float bowl's fucked up.
Yeah.
That's
But
literally it.
in the recommendation here is rebuild the carb because it's such an integral part of the how the bike runs that you want to be intimately involved in that. Like you want to be on the side of the road and be like, oh, I think I'm, like troubleshooting the carb. You need to know exactly how it
It's
works.
the heart
So
of the motorcycle.
it's one of the best things to do is to rip it all apart and put it back together. And it doesn't matter that there's 300 pieces to it. You like, because again, you'll figure out how to there's plenty of rebuilds on any carb that you have. So tear it apart, get it clean as humanly possible. Take your time, and then get a rebuild kit. A lot of these kits too, like especially with vapor honing and stuff, you can reuse a lot of the parts that they have in these kits, and you can get just like the gaskets. But the gaskets are super important with the carb, so you want to make sure you have fresh gaskets if they
Yeah.
require gaskets and O-rings and things like
Yeah,
that,
because they
because
swell
that
because
stuff
of the
break
fuel.
down. Yeah, and that stuff breaks down over time. So, like bare minimum, get a gasket kit with the O-rings and stuff, and then get it cleaned out. And you can do a pretty decent cleaning with just like carb cleaner. You know what I mean? But like blow out all the passages with some air and with carb cleaner, and then you're good to go. Then you can kind of rule that out. Now you're like, now it's clean, and now I'm tuning it. You don't have to worry about like other shit. But carbs were like one of those things that was like super like foreign to me, and I was like, I don't want to tear it. And it was really actually through vapor honing other people's carbs, where I was like, where I'd have to take them apart and put them back together, do that a couple hundred times, and now I'm a pro. I put a fucking Super E together like in 10 minutes. Like crack it down, clean it, put it back together, no problem. All right, top ends.
Titties.
Another intimidating task to actually crack open your motor. But sometimes, especially on these older bikes, those gaskets need to be replaced.
Yeah.
They're not going to
And
fix themselves.
here's the biggest thing is pulling a top end apart, anybody can do it. Get the proper literature, get a manual. Definitely get a manual if you're getting on the top end, because that's going to give you everything. Torque specs, it's going to give you fucking part numbers, it's going to give you everything. Like nice little fucking explosion diagrams. Um, Top ends are super fucking easy. It's when you have to get into the lower end or the transmission, something like that. That's when shit starts getting a little harder. Um, I guess the biggest thing in a top end. So this also depends too, right? It's going to be like, are you just doing gaskets? You got to pull off your rocker boxes, do those because those are weeping, or you got to do new head gaskets or something like that. Okay, not a big deal. Do you got to replace pistons? That's a little bit more work. Then you got to do the wrist pins, and you got to do new rings. So you got to make sure you're putting the oilers in the right spot and all that shit. But still very fucking doable.
Yeah.
Once you start getting into
most of
head
the time
work and you got to do
it's
like
just the gaskets though, right? I mean, that's like the first thing
right.
that's going to go is the gaskets. That's probably the most common thing.
I always say though, if you're taking just the heads off, because you got to do head gaskets or whatever, no problem. But if you're gonna take the cylinders off, do the fucking piston rings. You already got them off.
You already
You know
got
what I
them off.
mean? They're
You
already
don't
gonna
even
be
have to
fucked
take it out of
up.
the bike usually.
Yeah, they're gonna be fucked up already because you fucking ripped off the cylinders like a fucking madman. So just replace the piston rings. They're cheap and they're easy to do. Get a compression ring tool. Super fucking easy to get one of those. And put new rings
Or
on it. Now,
popsicle
guess what?
sticks.
Now you don't have to worry about that. Clean the tops of your pistons off. Now you don't have to worry about
Yeah.
that. You know what I mean? It's like all this stuff is, and this is a little bit more advanced, obviously, but it's still so fucking doable if you have a manual. It's
Yeah.
so, you know what I mean? Like it's not hard to do. But if you have to get in, you have to balance fucking flywheels and all that shit. Nah, you're probably not doing that on your first build. You're not gonna be able to
Yeah,
do that.
bottom ends are a different animal, but top end
Right.
builds, when I did mine, I had some help. I went over Fat Man's, and that was helpful because he had like the piston ring compressor, and like the hardest part about doing a top end is cleaning the gasket surface.
Yeah, because you don't want to gouge it all up and get all the old shit off. It sucks.
It's fucking a lot of work to do that. It was a lot of work. In fact, I started doing it like I was at Fat Man's shop and we were like scraping with razor blades. And he's like, "Wait, don't you have a vapor honer?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I just took him back to my house and blasted him off real quick.
Yeah.
that helped a lot. But
Yeah.
it was intimidating having it out, but after doing it, and Grease did this too. He did his top end by himself, for the first time. It's just like we actually both of us made a couple of mistakes. Like when I put mine back together, I actually torqued mine down. I forgot to take the base gaskets off,
Oh,
the
you
old
double
ones.
gasketed it?
Yeah. Luckily, we caught it, but it was already torqued down. But, no problem and no leak after that. And then I think Grease had a problem with, I think it was with his, some O-ring or something in the push rods or something like that. But he had to take it off and then like retorque it. I mean, again, there's a lot of wiggle room here. Like Harleys aren't like real precision, like vehicles. So you can make mistakes. And but again, there's tons of like top end rebuild step by step on the internet, like on YouTube and shit. And that's how I do most of my stuff is like I'll find a good YouTube video. So you spend a lot of time searching, you get a good YouTube video. And then you just have it up and then you pause, you do your fucking that step, and then you play it again. And you're like, okay, I got that. And then you do that next step, like break it up into smaller pieces. Really with choppers in general, but like anything you do on it, there's going to be like 1,000 different things you have to do. Just chop it up into as small down to a step, like this is the next step. I'm just going to do that, focus on that. And yeah, and then the top end just, again, it's top ends are easy because typically you don't have to even pull the motor,
Right.
like if you have the clearance. I had to rock my motor. I didn't even have to take it all the way out. I had to just like rock it because of the hardtail I had on there, but it's already like on a stand, But what would I recommend too for the top ends? The is it Cometic gasket kits?
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty inexpensive, and they come with fucking everything,
Yeah.
So, all right.
Oh.
Chain conversion.
So easy. So fucking easy. People try to make this out to be like this huge fucking process. Guess what? It's not. It's not. It's so fucking easy. You're already taking the back wheel off because you're doing a build anyways, right? So you're going to take that big, ugly ass fucking pulley off the back. You're going to order a new sprocket. What is that, $80? Something like that? Put that new sprocket on. Now up front, there's a little fucking pulley. Just going to take that off. One nut. See you later. Bye. Fucking, that's gone. Now you're bolting on a fucking sprocket. A little baby sprocket. Chain conversion done. Done.
Yeah,
See you later. Fucking done.
It's it's really one of the easiest and best upgrades that you can do. Um, I would suggest, like you were just talking about, is buy the sprockets separately. If you get the kit, the chain is usually kind of junky. And I'm a huge proponent of getting a
You got to get
decent
a good
chain.
chain. Yeah.
If you get a decent chain, if you get like a shitty chain with like the little clip, you're going to be adjusting that thing every time you go out and ride, like every single week. Get a decent chain. It won't stretch as much. Get the X-ring chains. You can get them pretty cheap, like maybe $100. It ain't $50 or $60 or whatever the cheap ones are, but adjusting the chain every fucking 200
Sucks.
miles or whatever really fucking sucks.
Sucks.
I don't trust that little clip at all. But then
No.
you have to get a specialty tool for like $10, which is chain breaker and installer, you know what I mean? But it's worth its weight in gold. Because once you press that bitch on, like when I got the cheap chain, I would adjust it probably once a week. Like once a week, I'd have to adjust it.
Yeah. I had the
And since
same
I put that
problem.
new chain on, I do it once a season.
Yeah. I haven't had
Once
to
a
touch
season.
my chain in a long fucking time.
Yeah.
But I ran the
So it
cheap
makes a big
one,
difference.
and I was every 100 miles I had to fucking redo that chain. It was a fucking pain in the ass.
Yeah. Yeah. So just get a decent chain and then just buy the sprockets. Or even if you buy the like the chain replacement kit on like lowbrow or deadbeat, get one of their better chains because it's worth the extra money to get a decent chain. I like the X chain, and just it sounds better. Like you can just working on it, it's like this is beefier,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely a must.
That's the one thing I've heard a lot of people like, oh, well, you'd have to do a chain conversion. And like, dude, a chain conversion is one of the easiest things you'll ever do on a build, period. It's one of the easiest things to do.
Really helps if you have air tools, though, for the sprocket.
Yeah, air tools are a good impact gun for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They have some really good electric impacts now.
Yeah. Dude, my DeWalt impact gun, like the pieces that you put in there so you can put sockets on?
Mm-hmm.
I have snapped like fucking 30 of those. There's so much torque on my DeWalt impact gun. Dude, I've got the Milwaukee ones, snapped them. I cannot put my fucking impact gun on 3 or I'll snap the bit immediately.
No shit.
That thing has so much fucking torque. I finally got one that I ended up ordering. I ordered it offline because I was like, at first I used the DeWalt one, snapped them immediately. Then I got some at Harbor Freight. I was just thinking maybe, I don't know, maybe that was just like a defective one. Got some of the Harbor Freight ones with like the 3-pack for $8 or whatever. Snapped all 3 of those. I was like, fuck it. Went down to Home Depot, got the Milwaukee ones, snapped them. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? So then I ended up finding these ones. I forget the name. Hopefully I'll remember for the next episode and I'll let you guys know. But I ordered these ones offline and I've been using that one now for almost a year. No problems. But point of the story is DeWalt impact guns, fucking hammer down. Everybody says you need Milwaukee this and Milwaukee that. I use everything inside my drawer right there is DeWalt for electric. And it's half the price as Milwaukee. And I think it's a stronger impact gun than Milwaukee has.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and it's brushless.
I have DeWalt, but mine are not. Yeah, I got like the cheap ones. They're great. I mean, they work fine, but I'd like to get I haven't tried the impact yet.
Yeah.
That would be helpful.
Yep.
But I got the air.
Yeah, I think the only thing I have Milwaukee is an electric ratchet. Is the only thing I have that's Milwaukee. Oh, and a light. And that's because I got both of them given to me.
There you go.
So,
all right. We have one more topic. And we saved the best for last.
What is it? I don't even remember.
Wiring.
Oh.
Yes.
Wiring so
I have
easy.
a lot to say on this. Yes.
It's so easy. I'll just give my brief description on it, and then I'll let you just hammer down. pending what you're putting on your bike. If you're just going bare bones chopper, and let's say it's a kicker, dude, you've got 1, 2, you got like 5 wires max. There's not a lot. There's not a whole bunch going on. It is very easy to wire a fucking chopper. Now, this also goes to say, like, you have some kind of knowledge wiring, so you know, like, which gauge wire to use and, like, if you need a relay here or whatever. Yeah, there's a little bit of knowledge. You can't just start slinging wires around the bike. But this is very obtainable fucking shit. And I just want to go on record here. I'm not saying don't ever bring your shit to a garage, because I got homies that own garages. They need to make money too. I'm just saying that, like, for those guys that can't afford to bring it to a garage, can't afford to have somebody build them a bike, it's not that hard, bud. You can figure it out or die trying. But wiring a bike's really not that fucking difficult. And even if you're like, listen, I'm down to do all this other shit, but I don't want to do the wiring, Lowbrow sells a wiring kit. Steve from Fat Man Custom Motors. Yeah, Steve from Fat Man Custom Motors sells a wiring kit. Like, you can buy a fucking harness and just be done. But, like, if you're like, no, I'm a cheap fuck, I ain't trying to do that, you can wire up a harness so easily. Now, if you were like, I need to wire my car, I'd be like, this ain't for you, bud. You know what I mean? You need to wire a fucking plane. This probably ain't for you, bud. You know what I mean? But when you need a wire to your headlight, to your taillight, from your ignition, to your coil, to your battery, bud, this is like 3rd grade fucking shit. You know what I mean? It's not difficult.
Yeah, so we'll bring up, this is like a pretty simple wiring harness for shovel head points. You've seen a million of these, right? There's one for every flavor too. So if you want to know how to wire an XS with a, like with PMA, if you want to learn how to wire a Sportster that has, like a starter on it, like an electronic starter, this is like a kick only shovel head. I was that guy that was like, I cannot wire a bike. Like, I am not an electrician. And I really struggled with it for a long time. And I watched every fucking video. I talked to people. It just didn't click for me, until I wired my shovel head. And it's so, I want to share this with everybody because this is what really unlocked it for me. All right. So what you want to do, wiring is the last thing that you do on a bike, right? Get everything on there. Mount the headlight, mount the tail light, get all the electronics on there, put the key where you want it. Okay. Pop the battery in. And for me, wiring is now like one of my favorite parts of building a bike. Like, it went from being the thing that I hated the most to, like, it's one of the funnest parts of your build because you're finishing it, like everything's on it, everything's perfect. And now you get to wire it up and fire it for the first time, So my suggestion is get everything on your bike. Don't even worry about wiring. Worry about all the other shit. Get it just how you like it. Put the battery in. This is what really helped me. Put the battery in. There's 2 terminals. You take your negative terminal, ground it to the frame. Now you just have 1 terminal and just run a wire from there. Everything that needs electricity, run it from the positive terminal. Take some red wire, pull out 10 feet of it. What needs electricity to run? Right? You're trying to create a circuit, but don't get in front of yourself, right? So what needs electricity? What needs this red wire? So what's the first stop? You go from the positive terminal to the key switch, right? That's your first stop. You're going to key switches are super simple, right? So we see here, there's on the back of the key switch, there's only 3 poles. You have a battery, accessory, ignition, right? When you turn that key, it's going to go to only 2 clicks, right? So accessory, like lights, or ignition, coil. So just measure from that battery to that ignition switch, right? And you wire it up. Now, where does it go from there? Accessory. Okay, your headlight needs electricity. Run that red wire to your headlight. We're just doing the live stuff, right? Just the hot. You need electricity. Run it to your headlight. Where is it going to go? I did all the internal wiring on the shovel head, so it was a little bit more difficult. I had to drill a bunch of holes and all that shit. But if you just have a loom or whatever, just measure how long it's going to be, and then connect it to the wire that's coming out of your headlight that needs electricity. Do the same thing for the tail light, right? Just run a wire off that accessory to your tail light. Now they have power. And where do you ground? Anywhere. You ground it to the frame. The frame's connected to everything on your bike. So off your headlight, you have 2 wires coming out, or maybe 3 if you have high-low. Ground it. Now it has electricity and it has a ground. Boom. Easy. Do the same thing for your taillight. Do the same thing for anything that you have, like if you have a horn or whatever. And if you choose, I just think of it like inline, right? So you want to have a switch for your headlight? You only have 10 feet of wire, right? Just cut it. Put a switch in the middle. There's 2 poles on that, on off. Now you have an on off switch. Stupid simple. You need to complete the circuit, but you're doing that because everything on this bike needs a ground and needs electricity from the battery, you know? And then you can get like fancy with it if you want to get into like fuses and stuff, but don't overcomplicate it. Get to a point where you're just like, and actually I'm going to give you guys a tip here. This is how I do it. This is called a Wago connector. This is how I mock everything up. They come in different sizes, 5, 3, 2. Run the wire where you want it to go. These little levers come up, stick the wire in, clip it down, right? So once you have everything wired up, you're going to have to figure out like where can I hop on that current, right? Because you don't want a ton of wires going back to the battery. Not everything has to go back to the positive and negative, right? So anything that's grounded to the frame, ground to the, wherever's closest to the thing that needs power. And then you can start splicing these together. So if you have like, with my headlights, I have a dual headlight setup. So there's a high-low, and then there's a ground. Put one of these Wagos on it. I have 4 wires going in. High, low, high, low. I'm just running high only. And then you have one that goes back out, right? And then you just clip them all down. It's all mocked up. When you're ready to go and you have everything laid out, and you're like, all right, everything has power, everything's grounded, everything's connected, then you can start. I use a soldering iron because I think it's more economical. But here's another thing that I've used. You buy these on Amazon. They're super cheap. So they have a little bit of solder in the middle, and you can heat it up with a lighter or a heat gun or something, and it gives you these. This is shrink wrap here. So you just twist your wires together, slide this sleeve over, and then hit it with the heat gun. It's going to melt and then make a watertight connection. So don't fuck with any like clips or like, like any of those connectors. Those will come loose eventually. Those will corrode eventually. Those crimps will come loose. So solder everything or use these fucking things. And again, they come in different sizes. You get these like, I think it was like $11. I got like 500 of these things. And I use these on like my Sportster, but I would recommend an iron, soldering iron, just way cheaper. And it's super easy to do. So once you get everything mocked up with these, you just twist your wires together, solder them, put them in, and then easy peasy Japanesey. And again, it's like break it into smaller parts, right? You can test your battery, right? So like you run the line from your positive battery in the ground, run it up to your headlight, and turn your headlight on. Okay, that's good. Then move on to the next one. Break it down into smaller bits. But the easiest thing for me is just like, where's the starting point? Your battery. You only have one post. The ground's already taken care of. Just run it to where it needs to go. Super easy. And that's really where it was. And then you can get fancy with it. Like I have a high-low switch. I have like a kill switch and stuff. But once you get that simple concept, it's all in line. You need a fuse, do an inline fuse. I have a fuse box, Some people use breakers. Don't get caught up in all that bullshit, Throw in some inline fuses if you want to protect stuff. Throw in some switches inline if you want to. Just figure out where to mount them. And then you got yourself a fucking bike.
Yeah.
And all those components, like the fucking, regulator and all that shit, that comes pre-wired. You don't even have to do that. The hardest part is just like, I'll say that I use 2 types of wire on my bike. I use 12 gauge for anything that's holding a load, like for a battery. Some people go overboard and they do like 6 gauge or whatever. I say 12 gauge is fine. And then I ran 16 through everything else. Some people use 14 or 12 even. But if something gets smoked, then just fucking replace the wire. Go with a heavier gauge or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah. Demystified. Debunked.
Crushed it. Guys, and if you have any questions on anything that we missed, that you're like, hey, is this really as big as a deal as people make it sound? Hit us up. Hit us on Instagram. Hit us on email. You can get either one of us. Loctite at lowlifechoppodcast.com or Rhino at lowlifechopperpodcast.com. Like I said, hit us up on Instagram or Patreon, whatever the fuck you want to do. And we'll try. Listen, we're not claiming to be know-it-alls of bike building because neither one of us are. But we've both been through some shit. We've gone through these struggles already and have already figured it the fuck out. And if we don't know, we'll point you in the direction of which way to fucking go. With that being said, though, let's take a minute to thank some of the motherfuckers that made this Chopper 101 podcast available today. Up first, we got Deadbeat Customs, the creator of the Deadbeat Retreat, where all lowlifes go to die. Steve also carries a lot of motorcycle parts for all the Dyna guys, the bagger guys, chopper guys, whatever the fuck kind of bike you ride. Chances are he's got some shit for you. Use code LOWLIFE at checkout to save some motherfucking money. Up next, we got Dan at No Luck Paintworks cooking up the dopest motherfucking paint jobs on the East Coast. Kid's a savage. He's absolutely crushing it. Every time I see a new paint job, it's better and better and better. He's constantly improving on his fucking craft, which is why I love that motherfucker, because he is never good enough in his own eyes, which will make him unstoppable. So get over to No Luck Paintworks on Instagram and book your paint job for this winter. His books are now open. If you have a build that's in the process and you know it's going to be done January, February, hit him up. Get on that fucking list, because I promise you, once it's full, you're asked out till next year, son. Up next, we got Lowbrow Customs. Everything you need for the road ahead. Probably the only website where you can build an entire fucking motorcycle or find anything that we just talked about on this episode. Tyler and his team support literally everything in the chopper community. So we're just trying to do our part and support what they fucking do. Again, lowbrowcustoms.com, and check them out on YouTube. They also have a bunch of fucking videos on this kind of shit. Up next, we got Steel City Blacksmithing. Josh, this kid is a fucking wizard when it comes to metal. He moves metal into shapes that you would not think are fucking possible. He will bring your build to the next level, whether it's fucking twisted spoke invaders, twisted down tubes, fucking twisted steel dickhead fucking kickstands. This dude can literally make anything out of metal. So go follow Steel City Blacksmithing on Instagram and tell them the boys from the Low Life Chopper podcast sent you. Next, we got Stay Strong Co., the only hot sauce that both co-hosts masturbate with every single night. It's like that fucking sweet heat that I like to make my balls jingle to. If you're trying to get the best hot sauce in the game, go to staystrongco.com or staystrongco on Instagram. Tell him to give you that sweet heat, baby, and get the shit hot sauce stocked up in your refrigerator now. Up next, we go Rhino Resto.
Inconveniently located in Henniker, New Hampshire. We do vapor honing. We do restoration projects. I'd really love to do some more tool restorations. I can do ratchets. I love doing vices. But anything chopper, just hit me up. Tell me what you got. Give you a fair price. And it's honing season, baby. So get on the books. There's a long line right now.
And last but not least, we got Loctite's Chop Shop. Listen, for all of your pinstripe needs, hit me the fuck up. I got the Pinstripe Studio full swing now. I got a full setup. All the paint is nicely fucking stored. I got my own workbench, all kinds of shit. If you want to get something done this winter, hit me up. I can do motorcycle shit, custom shop signs, helmets, stop signs, whatever the fuck you want. If I can put paint on it, I will. I'll put it on your girlfriend's titties if that's what you want. Hit me up, Loctite's Chop Shop on Instagram or Loctite's Chop Shop at lowlifechopperpodcast.com for the email.
Yeah. Last but not least, this show, Low Life Podcast. We still got a store. Buy some merch. Hit me up if you want one of the custom shirts that we make here. Just let us know. We got koozies, we got t-shirts, we got fucking stickers. Every little bit helps. And you want a cool fucking Low Life sticker, dude. By the way, the limited run on these 4-inchers. We're not doing that again. Them's expensive. Them is huge.
Huge.
Yeah. So get them while supplies last.
It's a perfect truck sticker or toolbox sticker.
Yeah. It's big.
Well, with that, this episode's fucking over. I think we hit like an hour and a half, maybe. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. It's been a little bit since we did a tech episode. But do not worry. The garage is finally fucking done for now. Fully wired with electricity. And it's winter, baby. That means it's time to start building this piece of shit on the shelf, which means I won't have a cool backdrop anymore, but whatever. Shit. So there will be a lot of tech shit coming up. And I'll do weekly fucking updates on that build, let you guys know what I'm going through, any kind of fab ideas I come up with, etc. And that's it. That's all I got. I'll see you motherfuckers next week.